Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is going to be another vlog style video, and I am working on tomato paste. If you're new here, I'm Kathryn, the Aerogarden Homesteader, and I will have a garden update at the end of this video, but for now I'm taking you through some of the stuff that I'm doing this week, and I've got a couple of stations set up. So I got a strainer on a cookie sheet with the tomato juice. And then these were in the oven briefly, just enough to sort of thaw them, release some of their juice, and I will be able to peel their skins really easily. And a little further over, sorry for the camera, but this is just where I'm putting my skins. So in the end, nothing is going to waste. So I am going to be peeling these up. I will probably sort of speed through this. I do have another tray. So what I have noticed is this is a slicing tomato, and I had to cut it equatorially, and I had to do that just so I could get the seeds out. So these have been seeded and cored, and right now I am deskinning them. And this will go into making the tomato paste. But what I have noticed is it's a little harder to peel the equatorial ones versus the pole-to-pole ones. So this is aroma, and it peels nicer. It's just like there's less tension on the skin, it just comes off easier. So I have been at it for a little while, and I will probably be going at it for a little longer, so obviously I'm not going to subject all of this to you. And I have made tomato paste before. I will link that one. This one I think is slightly different just because it's roasted in the oven the entire time. And so once I get all of these peeled and the pulp sort of all together in one spot, I will put it back on one of these cookie sheets, and I will put it back in the oven and just resume from where the instructions say. Now I think if you have a mill, you might be able to use it for the I don't know which step it is, but the processing step. So if you just want to leave the skins, cores, seeds, all of that stuff in there, it's possible to do that. I will also try to make sure to add in timestamps if you don't want to watch this, if you're just here for the garden update, but there is really not much going on in the garden anymore since I have basically shut down the outdoor garden. I mean, obviously I still have garlic out there, but there's really not much going on anymore. And I've only got a few Aerogardens this year up just because space is definitely an issue. We are going to be renovating the bathroom downstairs, but in the meantime we have bathroom stuff like just piled up in a corner, and that's taking up space, and yeah, it's a small house and we don't have a lot of space here, and things just get piled anywhere we have space. So as soon as I started taking down Aerogardens, which technically freed up space, it got filled with jars, and now I don't have space for the Aerogardens. So we got to find space for the jars, and it's a vicious cycle. So it's just terrible. And then I went and bought a whole bunch of jars off the marketplace. It was a really good price. It was just one of those, I shouldn't pass this up, and I'm glad I did. I got so many jars. It was totally worth it. I actually got 2 pressure canners as well, so all American ones. So I will, if I can get those with the weight on, the pipe with the weight, then I'll essentially never have to worry about if my seal goes bad, or if I have no electricity and can't run an electric canner, or any of those things. So it will be nice to have that as a security thing, but at the same time, it takes up space. So, and I'm just going to keep trucking along on these. I don't know how much of this I'm going to show you. I will at least speed it up, but pretty much after I get the tray completely empty, I pour the juice through the strainer so that I can catch any of these bits that are floating, and then the juice will go in the pot. For the juice, I'm going to reduce it down by half at least, and I'll just can that up as tomato juice. It's not really tomato juice per se, but it's tomatoey flavored water. And I will can that up. The skins, I had a bunch in the freezer, and so I will be adding to that, but I took the skins out so I could thaw them and put those on a sheet and start getting those prepared for drying. You could just put them in a dehydrator and turn it into tomato powder. I have a freeze dryer, so I will be freeze drying them, but dehydration is a valid technique if you want to have these as tomato powder to help thicken up stuff, or just add in a little bit of tomato flavor to something you're cooking. It's always good to have. And I am currently working on, this is about 24 pounds of cored seeded tomatoes. So this might be actually a little bit more than what the recipe calls for, because it called for 12 pounds. I'm doing a double batch, but that's 12 pounds of tomatoes with the seeds and cores. So if I get extra, bonus. I do have, I think I've got about 8 more pounds of tomatoes in the freezer, plus I do still have some that are in the process of ripening on the counter, so kind of hoping I have enough to do another project, something I haven't done before, but I do need to go through my canning inventory and see what I have and what I don't have. Basically, what are the holes in my inventory? And then I need to fill those holes accordingly. So we don't use a lot of pre-made sauces and things. That's actually why I have been experimenting with doing some of the not freezer meals, but some of the canned meals. So keep an eye out for those. I will be doing some over time, as you know, time permits, and giving those a try, because it's nice to have something that's quick and easy for like those busy summer days, or you know, come back from something and you just need a meal fast. So I am slowly working on that, but we don't use a lot of pre-made marinara. Like, I'd rather just pull out a can of tomatoes and make something fresh than be locked into something, which is why I've been hesitant to do the canned convenience meals. But, you know, there's a time and a place for everything, and I think it is time to give them a try and see if maybe there is a place on my shelf for them. And so far, some of the recipes I have tried have been worth adding to the pantry. So stay tuned for those. I think I've already put out a couple, so I'll try to link them so you can go check those out. Anyways, in the meantime, this is task number 1 for the things I have planned to get done. And this is taking up a lot of space, so I can't even start the second thing. So I was going to try to clean up some tallow. There's some tallow in the fridge, and it's been in there for a long time, and it kind of has a beefy taste to it. So I would like to get that cleaned up to make it a little easier to use, because it's kind of on the beefy side. Now when I'm done, I go through and make sure to drain the juice out of the skins, because I can use that juice, and it's just less stuff to have to try to freeze dry. And that will go in the bag with the rest of them until they are thawed enough to put on a freeze dryer tray. Okay, so I'm going to try to... My pot is really full. I don't know if you can see it, but this is so far, this has been 20 pounds of tomatoes. So I don't think I'll be able to put the rest of this juice in there. But I should be able to pour this one through. And I've got one more tray to work on. And this is where I'm at so far. And it does accumulate a little bit of juice when it's in the pot, so I just kind of drain that out carefully as well. And then once this is drained a little, I will get it in the pot too. Although now that I have a cookie sheet that is free, I will probably put it on the cookie sheet so that I can potentially just get that going in the oven. But yeah, they are really juicy. So this was mostly paste tomatoes like Romas and those Rio Grandes, but I did have some slicers in there. I think it was beefsteak mostly, although I did get some. You never turn up free tomatoes, so I got free tomatoes from somebody, and they had a lot of slicers as well. So the next tray will have some yellow tomatoes on it, but should all be good. It will still make good tomato paste. Okay, so that is going to go in the pot, and I can start working on the next batch. I finally finished peeling all the tomatoes, and this is how much juice I ended up with. I've got almost 7 quarts, so I will see how much I reduce that down by. I could reduce it down quite a bit and actually just throw it in with the tomato paste and just continue reducing and cooking it that way if I want to keep all of the flavor in one thing, but you know, it's just whatever. I will see. Then over here, this is all of the pulp. I think I got... Let's see, what does it say? 14 cups? Yeah, I think I got 14 cups. So I am going to puree this with the immersion blender. If I don't get it really smooth, I might pull out the actual blender and see if I can get it smoother, but I could also put it in the oven and cook it for a little longer, and that'll help break down some of the fibers, and then it might puree better, but we'll see. I kind of need this pot. I just wanted to get it washed up so I don't have a lot of dirty dishes hanging around, and I don't know. But I will puree this as best I can. I will put it back on the cookie sheet. I have one of the dirty cookie sheets here, and then it will just go in the oven at 350 for, it says to stir it every 20 minutes after the first 40 minutes. So I don't know what stage I am technically at because it's already been frozen, thawed, partially thawed in the oven. I don't know. We'll see. I'll just play it by ear. I just don't want it scorching, so I will just keep a close eye on it. As you can see, I did not do a really good job of cleaning out seeds and things, so depending on how seedy it is, I might pull out the blender and just try to get rid of those seeds, but I don't know, maybe I'll try passing it through the strainer again and see if I can get the pulp through but the seeds not through. We'll see. I'll just play it by ear. We'll just see what I end up with. Anyway, it looks like a good first start, so I will leave it at that for now and get it on the tray in the oven, and I will see how it cooks up from there. Ultimately, what we're looking for is when you draw your spoon through it, it shouldn't pool liquid. And I know there's a lot of liquid in this right now, so I'm not going to worry about that. It's obviously not ready. This is also kind of maxing out my cookie sheet, so I hope I don't have any problems in the oven. Mound it up in the middle. That's what we're going for. Okay, there we go. So, in the oven it goes. I'm going to deal with the tomato skins next. Some of them are still frozen, but I think I'm at the point where they are breaking apart a little bit, so I will probably just try to break up some of these large chunks a little bit, and then I will get them loaded on the tray, and then they'll just go back in the freezer until I have a full set of trays. I think I currently have one tray in the freezer, which I have no idea what's on it. I can't remember, but we will see. So I just try to put it down in a relatively uniform thickness as best I can, trying to not go too much over the lip of the tray. You know, sometimes it sticks up just a tiny bit, it's fine, but I don't want it to be like heaped up over the top of the tray. It affects the drying time when it's got like really thick spots and then thin spots, and you don't want it to get, you know, overdone. I have found it is possible for things to get overdone in the freeze dryer. We did some we did orange juice, and there was one spot, like, you know, because everything's at an angle, it doesn't matter how flat you think your freezer is, it's at an angle. And so the juice was thin in one spot, and yeah, it actually burnt. It burnt a little. So it is possible for stuff to over-process if you've got thin spots and thick spots. So it looks like I'm going to get at least 2 trays out of this. If I get a third tray, I can just freeze it up and run it right away. I will have a full set of trays, but we will see how it goes. So pretty much I'm just going to kind of, yeah, there we go. That feels like it's pretty uniform. I'm going to make sure everything's staying inside the bounds of the tray so I don't mess up the little shelf thing there. And there we go. Okay, well, obviously I need to lather, rinse, repeat. Oh, these dark ones, so I made a roasted salsa, and that's just from that. So you may have actually seen the video. That one is already out. So, okay, well, I need to get cleaned up, and I need to get more trays. Okay, so this is the first time I'm taking it out of the oven after almost an hour, and I'm going to be giving it a stir. I actually kind of recommend not overfilling your trays because, or tray, I don't know if you can see, but it kind of foamed up a little, or like expanded. So it is really close to the top of the tray. It was really hard to get out, but I do have pockets of liquid, so I'm going to make sure those all get stirred in, and I'm going to get it back in and continue the drying process. Well, it's been several hours, and I actually think this might be done. So I am going to give this a nice stir and put it in the jars and get it going. So I will need to, obviously, since everything is pretty hot, I will have to get the I will have to get the jars warming up and get my hot water bath warmed up. So in the meantime, I can add the remaining ingredients, which include citric acid, and if I want, I can add salt. I will probably just skip the salt because I can always salt the final dish to my heart's content and not worry about oversalting anything. Mind you, I always undersalt things, so let me see. Yeah, I think that's it. So the tomato water is still going on the stove. Turned it off for a little bit because I had to step away from it and I didn't want it getting out of hand. My burner has a bad habit of heating up, like it'll just randomly kick into high even though it's not on high. So I just wanted to make sure nothing bad happened. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I will mix in, here, let me check. So it is 1 teaspoon of citric acid per 12 pounds of tomatoes. Since I have twice the amount of tomatoes here, I will go ahead and put in 2 teaspoons. And then once everything's warmed up, I will get it in the canner. So this has been sitting for a little bit. I just wanted to show you that, I don't know if you can see, there's just a tiny bit of liquid here at the bottom. I did stir it in and it did start weeping out again. I'm okay with that. I feel like that is a good thickness for tomato paste. So I am going to get my citric acid in and get it in the jars. The recipe that I'm following is in the all-new Ball Book of Canning and that I borrowed from the library a while back. And it's suggesting 4-ounce jelly jars, which I really like. I do like that small size, because I feel like it's easy to use 4 ounces of tomato paste. It's sometimes harder to use a jelly jar full of tomato paste, so I am happy that it's a small amount in a small jar. So my jars are heating up. It is a 40-minute time, so you do have to make sure you have enough water in your water bath canner to go the 40 minutes at a steady boil. It does not have to be a hard boil, but it does need to boil for the full time, with at least 1 inch of headspace at the end. So, plan appropriately. I hope I have stirred this up well, because heaven forbid I would not want to have one jar be super sour because I didn't stir it up well. I don't know if you can see, I did end up leaving the seeds in because I just don't care. I don't have any problem with seeds. You know, at some point I'm going to have seeds in my tomato product anyway, so I didn't feel the need to get it out. I'm sure if I ran it through a mill it would be a lot smoother, but this is a homemade product. I am perfectly happy with the little imperfections that came along with it. Okay, I'm going to call that mixed. Okay, I am probably not going to use a funnel. I'm just going to plop it in, tap it down. There's really no good way to get rid of air bubbles when it's really thick. So it wants a 1/4 inch headspace. I will do the best I can. Good. Alright, well, it's just going to be me beating jars against the counter for the next little bit. I'll let you know how many jars I ended up with. I did end up with 2 trays of tomato skins for the freeze dryer, so that worked out pretty good. Probably not a good idea to be pounding this against the counter. It is splatting up a little bit. I'll take a tiny bit out. I think I went over a little. Okay. And there we go. Lid and back into the canner it goes. These jars were actually part of the set of jars I got from that lady who was cleaning out her jar collection, so it was kind of a score. I am making a mess. Oh my gosh. I am making a big mess. This is really messy, by the way. It does spit out when you... Okay, well, I'm sure you don't need to see this. I will move on ahead. I've got to do that tallow still, and obviously I still need to deal with the juice that is still on the stove, so it's still a busy day. Still a busy day ahead of me. Probably going to be a mildly busy week as well. So stay tuned. I will take you along for some of the stuff that is going on. I can finally move on to the tallow. So I put it in a sink, some hot water in the sink, just to see if I could hopefully get it out a little easier. I guess we'll see. So it has a slightly off-putting flavor to it, and so I am hoping that by doing a cleanup of it, I can make this more usable. So we shall see, and if this works, I will be rendering up some more, of which I have a lot in the freezer, And I will take you guys along for the whole process instead of just showing you, oh, by the way, this is how you clean something you haven't done yet. So I will show you the whole process, and it'll just be all in one video instead of piecemeal across different videos. So, okay, I'm trying to be really careful to not jam the knife into the glass, because that would just be bad. But yeah, the further down I get, the harder it is to get the tallow broken up. So I guess we'll see. Might just have to put it back in the warm water. So pretty much what I will be doing is a wet render. And yes, I know it has already been rendered, but you can do it again after it's been rendered to help clean it up. I will be putting some water in here and just gently simmering it for, I have no idea how long. I will have to look up the instructions again, but I will be simmering it, and I will add some salt to the water. I've heard you can also add like baking soda or other things. I'll probably just do salt. But we'll see how it works. We'll see if it turns out salty or if it even works and cleans it up, gets rid of the off-putting flavor. So I'm kind of curious because I have a lot of bacon fat in the fridge, and you know, I use that for things where it feels appropriate, but you know, bacon fat isn't always appropriate for things, and this is a really nice lard, or actually it's a tallow, really nice tallow, and I'm like, I could use it in place of lard. I just need to clean it up. Okay, well there we go. So I'll probably have to wash this out before I put anything back in it so I don't transfer any flavors again. But one of the reasons to do this sort of at the end of the day is to give it a chance to just sit in the fridge and solidify overnight so I can get all of the, you know, water out, which will have all of the nasty smells in it, I hope. So I'm going to get some water. Okay, I'm doing approximately 1 to 1. I don't remember what the instructions say to do. We're just winging it here. Okay, and everyone said to just put in a handful of salt, but okay, well we'll just go with that, I guess. This feels almost empty. Okay, so I'm going to get that on. Don't measure salt with a wet hand. I'm going to get that on a back burner and get it on a low simmer, and well, we'll just see what happens. I'll take you along for the experiment. Okay, so right now I am at about 4 quarts, so it has definitely come down from the, I think it was at 7. I might try to get it to 3 just so that I only have 6 pints to can up, which will be nice. And then over here, this is the tallow. It is just on a low simmer, and I can smell it, so I am really hoping that this cleans it up. I will let this go probably for about an hour, I think. I'll try to find instructions that I can link to that will hopefully let me know what I'm doing. And nothing like a canning day to heat up the house. Whew, it is warm up here. Okay, it's been an hour. It's also been off for a little bit because it's a Pyrex bowl, but it's actually Anchor, I think. But I don't want to take any chances. So I'm going to get this in the bowl. So it rendered for about an hour. I really hope this works because it really stunk up the house too. If you got an outdoor station, you might want to do it there. Okay. So that is that. I'm going to let this cool off for a bit, and then I'm going to cover it, put it in the fridge, and well, yeah, I can see the different layers. So there you go. You can see the different layer between the fat and the water. So yeah, I'm going to let this go. I will put it in the fridge overnight, and then in the morning I will check it. I'll show you how it looks, and we will check together to see if it still stinks when it's finished with the cleaning process. And in case you're wondering, the recipe lied. I got 14 little 4-ounce jars of the tomato paste for double the amount. So it was only supposed to do 4 for 12 pounds. I did 24 pounds and I got 14 jars. So yeah, your mileage may vary on this. I used a lot of paste tomatoes with very few of the slicing tomatoes, but still that seems like a lot of extra. I hope I had enough citric acid in. That's kind of been my worry. But other than that, all the jars sealed. They're still really hot actually, but all the jars sealed, And I'm hoping I've got like a 2 or 3 year supply of this stuff because I can just use tomatoes next year for other things and not have to worry about putting up tomato paste. Yeah, that was a good run. This is how the tallow looks. It has had a chance to sit in the fridge overnight. I can't tell if the bowl is creating a shadow here and I got 2 different colors or what. But the water is absolutely disgusting looking, so this definitely did something. I'm gonna get this camera back up on the tripod and get this out of the bowl and see what it looks like and potentially what it smells like. Plus I will also be able to tell if that fat layer is a different color or not. So it is supposed to just pop out. I do wonder if people prime this somehow. I might have to take this over to the sink and knock it out. Yeah. It still smells fatty. Like beefy. I might need to render it again. We'll see. Okay. I didn't let it warm up that long actually. I started pushing on it after I turned the camera off and lo and behold it popped out. So, we should be able to just scrape off the gunky stuff on the bottom. Sharp side, dull side, I don't know. That is gross. Now, I did get a pot of water starting to heat because I thought, oh, this is working out. I can just put it in the jar again. That's why I have the measuring cup. I was going to do a double boiler type thing. So maybe I should just re-render it, because it kind of still stinks. It seems like an awful lot of fat to scrape off. Anyways. Well, that's the puck. The water is gross. This still smells fatty, so I might give it a go again, although it stunk up the house last time. But I'm gonna dispose of this, and I'm gonna throw it in the pot. I'm gonna just take out the. My hands are dirty. I don't want to touch anything. I got the pasta pot out. So what I'll do is I'll take the insert out. I will put the fat puck back in there with more salt, and let it render for another hour. So that might be the best way to go. I did notice last time while I was rendering, you got to add water to it, or at least keep an eye on the water level. Because at one point while I was waiting for it to simmer away, the sound of the bubble, the sound of the boiling changed. And so I think what happened was it was running out of water. Let me see. Oh, perfect. There we go. We'll just put that in there. I am going to add more salt. I'm going to let it render away for another hour. And I'll put it back in the same bowl, but I'm going to clean this bowl out because it was gross. So, not quite a bust, not quite a success. I guess I'll render it again, and then we will see. I want to wrap up where I stand with the tallow. This is the second render. You can see the water is not perfectly clean. I won't be rendering this again, and having gone through and read up a little bit more on the rendering process and everything, this was beef fat from brisket that I had rendered probably about a year ago, kept in the fridge, maybe a little longer. It's beef fat from brisket. So it's not the nice leaf lard that you would use, or the leaf fat that you would use for making tallow. So it's going to have a beefy flavor, and that was why I rendered it twice, because I was hoping it would help, you know, get rid of some of that. Well, there's two reasons why it probably won't. Number one is it isn't the nice pure fat that you get, you know, for making tallow. It's just beef fat from brisket. And number two, when I rendered it, I just did a normal render where I just cut up all the fat and put it in a pot and just slowly melted it down. I think I over-rendered it. I think I kind of browned the bits a little too much, and I think that is the other reason why this will always have a beefy flavor. But the good news is, it did get rid of the other quality that was kind of off-putting in this. I can handle it being a little on the beefy side, but it had a slightly other, like a slightly odd other smell to it that, you know, was really off-putting, almost camphor-like. It was really weird. So this did clean it up. It does have a nice smell, you know, it's just beefy, but it has a cleaner smell to it now, and it does work. it's the water is nasty. The lard is nice and you know, it's cleaner looking. It only smells beefy now, so that's something I think I can deal with. But what I'm going to do is I will be doing a full video of just rendering down fat from brisket, because that's what I have. And I'll do the wet method that time, and you know, when I do that video, and we'll see if that works a lot better for that type of fat. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this back in its jar. I'm going to melt this down. I'm going to try to not get any of the water in there, and then I am going to move on to the plant update for this week and tie everything up. And just a little plant update for the week. My sad tomato is falling over. I'm not sure, it's struggling to hold on, but I might just have to put it out of its misery. The one over here is kind of buried in with the celery, but it looks like it's doing really good. So I will definitely be moving that one shortly. Celery is obviously doing well. It's just so cute to watch it grow. It's just like mini celeries in action. The lettuce is doing great. I have been harvesting from it. I do try to keep the amount I'm harvesting down to a minimum just because I don't want to, you know, denude the plant too much. This one might actually be going to seed because it looks like it's starting to pop up, but maybe it's just because it's so frizzy, it's just standing taller. I've been trying to use up more of this, but yeah, it just does what it does. I had to put the light up actually. And then these ones, again, I'm not sure if they're trying to go to seed or if they're forming a head. This one looks like it's forming a head. See how it's curling over on itself? It's almost like a iceberg lettuce type. This one's growing kind of like a romaine. So I don't know. Sort of the same with these. See, this one's got a head going. And then cilantro is looking pretty bad. I need to just take that out and start some more. And finally, the rest of the indoor update. So the peppers are doing great. I still have quite a few peppers hidden all over the place. They're just everywhere. And I've got a lot more flowers growing. This is all new growth. This is some new growth. So this is just, it's doing well. I think I gave it 80 ml of food. So I'm hoping that that's what's helping it sort of get this new vigor and being able to support all these things. The surprise is this tomato plant is growing like a weed, but I have lots of flowers. I will probably need to increase the amount of food it's getting this week. Actually, it's next week. But I have lots of flowers. There's some up against the wall back there, some that are open. I'm hoping the fan is helping to pollinate them. There's more coming in right here. So it's just been going crazy. And finally, I don't know if anyone has really been following this, but the lemon finally flowered. One of them flowered. It doesn't smell like lemon. So it actually kind of smells fruity, like jasmine in a way. It's got that sort of floral, fruity smell like jasmine. So that is this week's vlog where I did the tomato paste, tomato juice, some of the tallow rendering, it's actually fat rendering, and the garden update. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this video useful. I will have more videos up at the end that you might enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.